Chapter 21. An Interesting Girl. As soon as Pei Yijun finished speaking, Li Yang, Chu Zhimiao, and 3 other men stepped forward to stand behind him. He looked at the more than 30 people in front of him with a hint of disappointment. Standing at the back of the group, Mo Bingsu frowned, weighing the pros and cons. After a while, she finally made up her mind and raised her hand. "Brother Pei, I want to go with you," she said softly. Hearing her timid voice, everyone turned to look at her. Seeing that it was a girl, one of the students tried to persuade her. "Classmate, you are just a weak girl. Are you sure you want to join them to find supplies? I think it's better for you to follow us and join Teacher Cow." "Classmate, you should join us. At least Teacher Cow won't ask you to go out and find supplies. He and his team will protect us until the government sends people to rescue us," another student added. Mo Bingsu noticed their lingering gazes on her body and felt disgusted. Rather than staying with these low-class people, she would take the risk and get closer to Pei Yijun. Despite her inner thoughts, she maintained a timid expression and said, "No, I want to get strong and protect myself." After speaking, she walked over to stand behind Pei Yijun. The 3 men looked at her approvingly, while Li Yang and Pei Yijun remained silent. It was Chu Zhimiao who rolled her eyes and muttered, "A green tea bitch pretending to be a white lotus. Are you trying a new flavor?" Her voice was neither loud nor soft. Li Yang, who stood beside her, heard her words clearly and nearly choked on his saliva, struggling to hold back his laughter. He glanced at his childhood friend, wondering why she hated Mo Bingsu so much. As far as he knew, Mo Bingsu hadn't done anything to offend her. While everyone was still whispering among themselves, a girl slipped into the building through the side door and quietly joined the group. Seeing that no one else wanted to join him, Pei Yijun said to his team, "Let's go." Just as he finished speaking, a soft voice called from behind the group, "Wait a moment." A moment later, a girl wearing a black t-shirt, dark blue jeans, and black sneakers stepped forward. She carried a large mountain backpack on her back, and a boning knife was strapped to her waist. Her short black hair swayed lightly as she walked. Standing in front of Pei Yijun, the girl smiled and asked, "Senior, can I join your team?" Lowering his head, Pei Yijun met her gaze and was taken aback by the excitement in her eyes. Most people he met after the apocalypse had fear, worry, or jealousy in their eyes. Even his trusted friend still showed hesitation and fear whenever they went out to find supplies. Finding her interesting, he smiled and replied, "Sure, but I won't be responsible for your safety." "I can protect myself," the girl replied. Pei Yijun observed her for a moment before turning around and saying, "Let's go." Before leaving, they searched for anything that could be used as a weapon. Holding iron rods, wooden sticks, and even broken brooms, they stood at the door. Outside, several zombies wandered aimlessly, letting out hoarse growls. The moment the door was pulled open, the zombies suddenly froze and turned around. A second later, they roared one after another and rushed toward them. Unfortunately, no matter how fast they moved, their speed was only as fast as a brisk walk. Seeing them approach, the students inside quickly shut and locked the door. Standing at the entrance, Pei Yijun said, "Disperse." As soon as he spoke, everyone moved to the sides, forming 2-person teams. Before they could steady themselves, the zombies were already reaching for them with their rotting hands. Roar! Zhao Lijai pulled out her boning knife, following closely behind Mo Bingsu while dodging the zombies' attacks. Her gaze remained cold as she silently waited for the right moment to use the zombies to get rid of her. At that moment, Mo Bingsu tried her best not to scream as a zombie lunged at her with its mouth wide open. Gripping an iron rod, she swung it frantically while muttering, "Don't come closer, don't come closer." Perhaps she was lucky. Her random attack struck the side of the zombie's head with a loud thud. The zombie collapsed and struggled to get up. Seeing this, Mo Bingsu's eyes flashed with hatred and disgust as she raised her iron rod and swung it down, aiming for the zombie's head. "Duog, duog, duog." She struck repeatedly as if possessed by a demon. After a while, she finally stopped and breathed heavily. Looking at the minced rotten flesh on the ground, she gagged and vomited on the spot. Fortunately, she had eaten nothing, drinking only 2 sips of water, so nothing came out to dirty her clothes. Not far away, a man noticed her situation and quickly rushed over. Seeing a zombie approaching her from behind, he waved his hand, and a wooden ball materialized out of thin air, flying at the zombie with great speed. Crack! The wooden ball smashed into the zombie's head, killing it instantly. As the zombie fell, the man reached Mo Binksu's side and grabbed her elbow, helping her steady herself. "Are you okay?" he asked. Chapter 22, Choosing a Car. Looking up at the man with a pale face, Mo Binksu saw an average-looking man watching her with concern. Lowering her gaze, she replied weakly, "I am fine. Thank you for saving me." Seeing her pale face, the man felt a pang of sympathy and said, "Stay close to me." Mo Binksu nodded and lightly tugged at the hem of his clothes while saying, "Thank you." Feeling her grip, the man smiled and fought even more fiercely, as if fueled by adrenaline. For Mo Binksu, it was natural for him to protect her. After all, she was the school beauty, and many liked her, including this man. So when he offered his protection, she accepted it without hesitation. Not far from her, Jiao Lijai smirked mockingly as she watched her take the man's protection for granted. Now that she saw everything clearly, she realized how foolish she had been in her previous life. Roar! Hearing the roar of zombies from the side, she took a step back to dodge the zombies' sharp claws and raised her boning knife. With a swift horizontal swing, the zombie's head fell to the ground. With so many people killing zombies, she had plenty of leisure time. She looked at the surrounding zombies' corpses and sighed. These were just normal zombies. There was no need to waste time checking their brains for crystal cores. To conserve her energy, she avoided unnecessary fights when possible. In the past 10 minutes, she had only killed 1 zombie, while Li Yang and Pei Yijun had taken down the most. Once they finished clearing the area, they ran toward the parking lot. Seeing their direction, Jiao Lijai's mind became active. After the apocalypse, no one knew whether the owners of these cars were still alive. So if she picked one, it shouldn't be a problem, right? Reaching a conclusion, she caught up with Pei Yijun and asked, "Senior, are you getting your car?" Pei Yijun glanced at her and said, "If you have a car, you can drive your own." "Okay," Jiao Lijai nodded. When they arrived at the parking lot, Pei Yijun went to retrieve his car while Jiao Lijai ran in another direction. Although the lot wasn't packed, there were a lot of vehicles, and the available vehicles were high quality. Most students and staff at Linen University came from wealthy backgrounds, and their cars reflected that: expensive, great design, and built for performance. She quickly scanned the lot and spotted a sport utility truck parked under a tree. While similar to an SUV, it had a truck bed, a roof rack, and additional storage compartments, making it ideal for carrying large loads. As she approached, she noticed that the engine, wheels, and body had been modified, making it much sturdier than the default design. Satisfied with her choice, she pulled 2 hairpins from her pocket and began fiddling with the lock. Within moments, she heard a soft click as the door unlocked. Climbing inside, she immediately searched for the keys. If possible, she didn't want to damage the interior. After a few minutes, she found a backup key tucked behind the sun visor. Closing the door, she started the engine. Just as she fastened her seatbelt, a modified Jeep and an SUV sped past her. Stepping on the gas, she followed them. Having survived the apocalypse for years, she had picked up several useful skills. Picking up cars was one of the skills she learned. Trailing behind Pei Yijun and his team, Jiao Lijai watched as they crushed the zombies in their path. Rotting flesh and black blood splattered across their cars every time their cars drove past the zombies. Shaking her head, she muttered while clicking her tongue, "What a heavy taste." With them clearing the way, she didn't have to dirty her own car. Since the nearest supermarket was still a few kilometers away, she decided to test something. Taking out an empty gallon bottle from her space, She put the bottle on the side and put 2 fingers into the bottle's mouth while driving with the other. A moment later, water trickled from her fingertips into the bottle. At first, it was the size of a pinky finger, but as she concentrated more energy into the tips of her fingers, the flow increased. Glancing at the bottle, she saw the water level rise quickly. In less than 5 minutes, it was full. After storing it in her space, she checked her energy and found she had used less than 1%. Based on this, she made a rough calculation and was surprised. She could produce at least 200 gallons of water before depleting her energy. Realizing this, she frowned. It wasn't that she was unhappy about her energy capacity, but to level up her ability, she needed to use up all her energy and recover repeatedly. It was like stretching a balloon. The more it expanded, the looser its perimeter. Once that limit was broken, she could advance to the next level. With her energy pool, it will take a long time to advance to the first level. Compared to others, her progress will be much slower, which might bring disadvantage to her in the future. After a moment of silence, she decided to be grateful. The more energy she had, the better her chances of survival during battle. Even if it took longer to break through, it was better than dying from exhaustion. 10 minutes later, the cars ahead slowed down and eventually came to a full stop. Since they were a team, at least for now, she also parked her car a short distance behind them. The moment they stopped, zombies in the area turned toward them and rushed over while roaring. Seeing the incoming zombies, she hesitated before opening her door and stepping out with her boning knife in hand. The instant she closed the door, a pair of sharp claws aimed at the back of her head. Chapter 23, I Saw What You Did. Seeing the incoming attack on the car window's reflection, Jiao Lijai swiftly dodged to the side. Crit. The zombie's nails scraped against the window, producing an ear-piercing screech. Jiao Lijai frowned at the sound and glanced at the glass. When she saw that it was completely intact, her eyes lit up. Roar. The zombie let out a roar as it lunged at her again. Narrowing her eyes, Jiao Lijai sidestepped and swung her boning knife, aiming at the zombie's neck. Crack. The next moment, the zombie's head rolled to the ground, its black blood splattering across the pavement as its lifeless body collapsed with a dull thud. Before she could catch her breath, 3 more zombies pounced at her simultaneously. As the rancid stench of rotten flesh filled her nose, Jiao Lijai frowned. Twisting her body, she aimed her boning knife at the zombie's neck. Crack. This time, the boning knife got stuck in the zombie's neck, as it only managed to cut it halfway. Roar. The zombie let out another roar as she stood in a close distance. With no time to dodge the other zombie's attacks, she gritted her teeth and used the zombie in front of her as a shield. Stab crash. Black blood spurted from the zombie's chest and shoulder as the other zombies bit and stabbed into it with its sharp claws. Duog. Gripping the knife handle with both hands, Jiao Lijai raised her leg and kicked the zombie away. With the force of the kick, she was able to take the boning knife out from the zombie's neck. The zombies hit the ground with a loud thud a meter away, struggling to get back up. Raising her gaze, Jiao Lijai noticed Pei Yijun and his team watching her after finishing off the surrounding zombies. The moment her eyes met Pei Yijun's, she narrowed hers slightly and smiled. Her smile lit up her already beautiful face, but despite the warmth on her lips, her eyes turned colder. She had no intention of letting them discover her abilities, especially her space ability. But if they wanted to test her, she would gladly fulfill their wish. With that thought, she stopped holding back. Rushing forward, she attacked as soon as the zombie managed to stand up. With a downward swing of her boning knife, she split the nearest zombie's skull in half. In the next second, she slashed upward diagonally, taking another head. As black blood and rotting brain matter splattered onto the ground, she clenched her left fist and punched the final zombie right on the face. Duog crack. The sickening crunch of breaking bones echoed in the air, stunning Pei Yijun and his team. Li Yang stared in disbelief as the petite girl smashed a zombie's head with her bare fist as if it were a watermelon. Under their stunned gazes, Jiao Lijai pulled her fist back and stood there, smiling. With black blood and rotten flesh clinging to her left hand and boning knife, she walked toward them. Stopping in front of Pei Yijun, she tilted her head slightly and asked sweetly, "Senior, are you satisfied with what you see?" Pei Yijun's eyes flickered briefly at her words before returning to normal. He frowned at the state of her clothes, but said nothing. Standing beside her, Mo Bingsu wrinkled her nose and muttered under her breath, "Why is this girl so brutal? She doesn't even care about all that black blood and filth on her. Is she really a girl?" Before anyone could respond, Chu Zhimiao scoffed and said, "At least she can kill 4 zombies on her own. Unlike someone who can only scream and vomit every time she meets a zombie but loves to criticize others and complain like a princess." Mo Bingsu's face darkened at her words. Glaring at her, she asked angrily, "Mio Mio, what do you mean by that? She is just a stranger. Why are you taking her side?" Chu Zhimiao met her glare head-on and asked her back, "Even if I am, what does that have to do with you?" Then, as if recalling something, she smirked and said, "Mo Bingsu, don't think no one saw what you did to your roommate on the day the chaos started." Leaning closer, her voice dropped to a near whisper as she added, "To save yourself, you used her as a shield. You made her die a gruesome death of being eaten alive by the zombies. And yet, here you are acting all self-righteous. I wonder if you can have a good sleep after what you did." Mo Bingsu's face turned deathly pale after she heard her words. Her lips trembled as she shook her head. "No, it's not me. I didn't mean to." Chu Zhimiao scoffed and said, "You don't have to explain anything to me. I trust my own judgment." Standing next to them, the man who had previously protected Mo Bingsu looked at her pale face with a deep frown and fell into deep thought. As a person with ability power, even if he couldn't hear clearly what Chu Zhimiao said, he could hear part of it and get a gist of their conversation. If what she said was true, then he should stay away from this woman. Otherwise, maybe one day he will be used as a shield by her and die without knowing the reason. Thinking of this, he took a few steps back and distanced himself from Mo Bingsu. Not knowing that her words saved someone's life, Chu Zhimiao turned to Jiao Lijai and said with a smile, "Classmate, my name is Chu Zhimiao. My friends and family call me Mio Mio." Jiao Lijai nodded and replied, "Hello, my name is Jiao Lijai." Chu Zhimiao glanced at the black blood and rotten flesh covering Jiao Lijai's hand and knife. She pointed at that and said, "I'm a water-type ability user. I can give you some water to clean up." Jiao Lijai raised an eyebrow and replied, "No need, but thanks." Without another word, she turned and walked back to her car. Chapter 24, Something is Off. Jiao Lijai was following them just to find a chance to get Mo Bingsu's head, and had no intention of befriending them. What's more, they just watched her being surrounded by zombies and did nothing. These kinds of people are not worthy of being her friend. Standing on the roadside, Pei Yijun watched her leave before saying, "Let's go." Chu Zhimiao hesitated for a moment before following Li Yang to his SUV. For some reason, standing near Jiao Lijai felt oddly comforting, as if she radiated warm energy. Meanwhile, Jiao Lijai stood by her car, waiting until Pei Yijun's team had driven away. Then, she climbed into the truck bed and entered her space. She didn't linger long inside her space. After changing into clean clothes, she came out of her space and quickly caught up with Pei Yijun's group. Fortunately, she had stocked up on clothes beforehand. Otherwise, at this rate, she would run out of clean clothes fast. As she drove, the discarded clothes lying on the grass inside her space emitted a faint mist. A few minutes later, the black blood and rotten flesh on the clothes had completely dissolved, disappearing with the mist. Though some fabric remained torn, the clothes looked freshly washed. As she drove, Jiao Lijai continued to take out the empty gallon bottles from her space and filled them with her water. When she spotted a sign for the supermarket, she filled the last bottle and stored it in her space. Afterward, she took out a bottle of pond water and downed it in several gulps. Almost immediately, a ripple of energy spread from her throat throughout her entire body as she swallowed the water. Feeling the surge of energy in her veins, she paused for a moment and murmured with a smile. Just as I thought, this pond water indeed restored my energy. With another trump card in her hands, she felt more secure surviving in this apocalyptic world. Even without a water-type crystal core, she could consume the pond water to replenish her energy. While it wasn't as effective as absorbing a crystal core, it was cost-effective, and she had an unlimited supply. With that in mind, she quickly pulled out 3 more bottles of pond water and tucked them into her backpack before parking her car on the roadside, just outside the supermarket's lot. Unlike her, Pei Yijun and Li Yang drove straight into the parking lot. Once their engines were off, they stepped out of their vehicles one after another. Li Yang glanced around and grinned. "Brother Pei, we are lucky. There are no zombies in sight." His teammates nodded in agreement. Only Pei Yijun stood motionless, staring at the supermarket with a deep frown. His instincts screamed at him to leave as something dangerous was lurking in the shadows. His gut feelings were rarely wrong, but his team needed supplies. This was the nearest supermarket to their university. If they left to search elsewhere, they would have to venture closer to the city center, where the risk was even higher. And there was no guarantee that any supplies there were still intact. As he debated whether to trust his instincts or press forward, Jiao Lijai approached, stopping a few meters from them. The moment she stood there, she felt it, the oppressive presence radiating from inside the supermarket. Her eyes narrowed as she scanned the surroundings. Not a single zombie in sight, not even their distant roars. The moment she realized this, a chill ran down her spine. In the apocalypse, the worst nightmare wasn't zombies or even mutant animals. It was mutant plants. Unlike zombies or mutant animals, mutant plants blended seamlessly into their surroundings. You wouldn't even realize one was there until it was too late. Memories of a past encounter with a mutant plant in her previous life surfaced in her mind as she turned to Pei Yijun and said, "Senior, this place is too dangerous. We need to leave as soon as possible." Before Pei Yijun could respond, Mo Bingsu scoffed at her words and said, "Classmate, I don't know what your agenda is, but we just got here. We haven't even checked the inside, and you are already asking Brother Pei to leave." She crossed her arms and asked sharply, "What, are you planning to take all the supplies for yourself?" At her accusation, the men's expressions darkened. Even Chu Zhimiao and Li Yang cast doubtful glances at Jiao Lijai. Seeing their reactions, Jiao Lijai swallowed back the rest of her warning. If they didn't cherish their own lives, why should she care? They would understand soon enough. Pei Yijun, however, took her words seriously. He walked over to her and his sharp gaze met hers as he asked, "Do you know something?" Jiao Lijai met his eyes and spoke solemnly. "Even though this supermarket is in the suburbs, it's impossible for there to be no zombies at all. At the very least, the owner or employees should be here. Something is off." Pei Yijun studied the building and asked, "What if they are still alive and hiding inside?" Hearing this, she shook her head and replied, "If people were inside, the doors would be barricaded. There would be signs of a fight, bloodstains, debris, anything." Then she pointed at the supermarket entrance and asked, "Look around. Do you see any traces of a fight, even a single drop of blood?" Pei Yijun's gaze scanned the surroundings for a moment, and a chill ran down his spine. The intense feeling of restlessness surged in his heart. This time, he decided to trust his instinct and said, "We are leaving." The moment he said this, his team looked at him in disbelief. They had expected him to dismiss Jiao Lijai's baseless words, or at least check the supermarket first. Unexpectedly, he didn't hesitate to choose to leave without a second thought. Chu Zhimiao, reluctant to abandon the supplies, called out, "Brother Pei." But before she could finish her words, Jiao Lijai suddenly rushed toward her while shouting, "Watch out." Chapter 25, Golden-Colored Crystal Core, 1. As soon as Jiao Lijai shouted, everyone turned, just in time to see a metal needle hurtling toward Chu Zhimiao at a fast speed. Although she had joined the team and gone out to find supplies, Li Yang had always protected her. As a pampered daughter from a wealthy family, she had zero combat experience. When she was facing a life-and-death situation, Chu Zhimiao couldn't move due to fear. Just as she thought death was inevitable, a shadow appeared in front of her. A split second before the metal needle pierced her body, Zhao Lijai swung her boning knife. Clang, crack. The needle deflected due to her attack force, slamming into a nearby wall. Dust exploded into the air as cracks spread across the concrete like a spider web. Zhao Lijai's arm went numb from the collision force, but she had no time to recover. A heavy pressure surged toward her, making her heart beating fast. Without thinking, she spun around and kicked Chu Zhimiao. Duog. The impact sent Chu Zhimiao flying into Mo Bingsu and several nearby men. They crashed to the ground with loud thuds. The moment Zhao Lijai sent her away, she turned and raised her boning knife. Clang, boom. A deafening collision sent dust and debris flying. As the dust settled, Zhao Lijai found herself face to face with a grotesque half-rotten creature. For the first time after her rebirth, fear flickered in her eyes. The zombie's soulless black eyes locked onto hers. Unlike other zombies, it didn't roar or move mindlessly. It simply stared at her, silent and calculating. Then, as if reading her thoughts, a sinister smile crept across the human half of its face. The moment she saw it, Zhao Lijai's body reacted before her mind could process the situation. She bent her knees and leaped back. While she was in the air, she saw the zombie suddenly disappear from the spot. In a blink of an eye, it reappeared behind her. Sensing the danger, she whirled around, crossing her arms to block the attack. Duog, boom. The zombie's metal arm struck her with heavy force, sending her flying out of the supermarket lot. Her body slammed into a massive tree across the road, and her arms swollen rapidly. Blood trickled from the corner of her lips as she slid down the rough bark. Cough. As soon as the zombie landed, it grinned and lunged toward her. Be careful, Pei Yijun shouted while waving his hand. Zhao Lijai's eyes sharpened the moment she heard his voice. She gritted her teeth, endured the throbbing pain, and raised her hand. Crack prank. A transparent water shield materialized in a second, only to shatter instantly under the zombie's metal fist. At the same time, a bolt of lightning struck the zombie's back, halting its movement for a brief moment. Seizing the opportunity, Zhao Lijai flicked her wrist, sending 3 water blades slicing toward the zombie's head at a fast speed. Clang, clang, clang. The blades struck the zombie's neck, but failed to pierce its metal-covered skin. Seeing this, her expressions darkened. After the zombie regained its movement, it swung its metal fist again. Zhao Lijai narrowed her eyes, rolling to the side, barely dodging the attack. Crack. Its fist embedded itself deep into the tree trunk, leaving a gaping hole. Standing a few meters from the zombie, Zhao Lijai was breathing heavily. She turned to glare at Pei Yijun and his team and shouted, "Are you all just here to watch the show? Attack it together." When they heard her words, they regained their senses. Although they had all awakened their abilities, no one dared to face the zombie head-on after witnessing how it had bashed Zhao Lijai. After all, they were only ordinary people before the apocalypse. Not to mention fighting against powerful monsters, they did not even dare to go against their class bully. Seeing that no one took action, Li Yang clenched his fists and rushed toward the zombie, aiming his punch at its back. The moment Chu Zhimiao saw this, her eyes widened in horror as she shouted, "Li Yang!" Duog. Due to her shouting, the zombie turned around and blocked the incoming attack. As Li Yang's fist collided with the zombie's metal arm, his bones broke, and his flesh was torn. Blood seeped from his wounds, dripping to the ground. The zombie's black eyes glinted with excitement as it caught the scent of blood. Before Li Yang could react, it reached out its huge metal arm and grabbed him. Ack! Li Yang let out a scream as the zombie tightened its grip around his body. He felt his organs being squeezed together, and his entire body was in pain. The taste of iron surged up his throat, and blood flowed from his lips down to his chin. Trying to save his friend, Pei Yijun waved his hand, and 3 thunderbolts flew toward the zombie. Seeing this, Jiao Lijai's eyes flashed for a moment, and she flicked her wrist. In an instant, water blades appeared out of thin air and flew toward the thunderbolts. Crack, boom. The moment the water blades and thunderbolts collided, the thunderbolts were absorbed by the water blades. When everyone saw this, their eyes widened in shock, especially Pei Yijun. His thunder-type ability had strong attack power, yet when faced with the small water blades, it had actually lost. Ignoring their surprised gazes, Jiao Lijai raised her swollen arms and clasped her palms together. In an instant, the water blades fused into one. The crescent-shaped water blade morphed into a round water disc. The edges of the water disc glistened under the sunlight, while sparks of indigo thunder crackled around it. With a wave of her hand, the water disc flew toward the zombie, aiming for the back of its neck. Noticing the incoming attack, the zombie leaped back, avoiding the strike. After a series of attacks, Pei Yijun's teammates finally took action. 3 wooden balls shot forward at high speed, aiming at the zombie. Crack, crack, crack.